all 10 of us here in the room today, or via Zoom or via technology, to the City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. We do apologize to the audience. We have had some technical difficulties here in the chamber and trying to get all of our council members on board, and so again, many apologies for the late start time. But with that, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and invite Bishop Eli Carpenter from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from the Bahama Park Ward to please come forward and give us an invocation, after which will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Julia Gussie. If you please rise.
Our beloved Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity we have to gather here together as a city council this evening, and especially considering these difficult circumstances and strange times that we're in. We're grateful for the wonderful city that we live in, for the many good people that reside here, and for the many blessings that we have as citizens of this wonderful country. We pray for the leaders of our city and of our country and of the world, that as we struggle to deal with the virus and everything that it is affecting, that we will be led and guided in ways that will help us to be able to combat this virus, and we'll be able to help those who are struggling in whatever way that they are, that they can find the peace and comfort that they need, and that they will be able to overcome as much as possible. We pray, Father, for the Spirit to be here in this meeting. We ask that that would guide us and these good council members, that they can be able to have their minds quickened and their hearts opened to the things that will be beneficial to the people here in this city and in this county. And in as much as we can do things that will help to improve the quality of life for the citizens here, that they will be blessed and guided in those ways. Again, we're so grateful for everything that we have, and we recognize thy hand in all things and say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Amen. We could face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic,
and to
to the republic in which it stands, which stands
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
excellent. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You may be seated. We need to practice that more often. It's always tricky with an echo, but everybody did a great job. Thank you. Thank you, Bishop Carpenter. We appreciate you being here. Okay, again, thank you very much for being with us. We apologize for the delay as we had some technical difficulties, but we are up and running now. We will move to the roll call.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Here?
Councilmember Manfredi?
Here.
Councilmember Vitiello?
Here.
Councilmember Wade?
Here.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Here.
Mayor Price?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you to each of our council members for their participation in these unusual circumstances. We apologize, we can't all be in the council chambers at this time, but we are doing our best and making sure that we have access to the public, as the public has a right to see their government in action. So again, thank you very much for that at this time. That'll take us to item 4, because we're going to skip item 3. There are no proclamations, acknowledgements, and awards at this time. So we'll move to the report from the mayor and the council members. So council, I'll turn the time over to you. If you have anything you'd like to share with the public, you may do so at this time. I'll first turn to the members on the dais. Vice Mayor?
I don't think I have to turn the microphone on. I think they can hear me. Just one thing, Mayor. Again, the Copa Cares effort that we've put together has just been amazing. This past Saturday, we served...
You are on, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We've served 85 seniors with essentials that they need, and Joan Kozar was responsible for bringing in 150 gallons of bleach that they could give to the seniors to be able to sanitize their area. So that was huge. That was from the Pinal Gila age-friendly group. And serving the 85 seniors, I actually stood out in line and welcomed each of them. And they were just so much fun to talk to, and they were just excited to be in line and roll down their window with their mask on and talk to me a little bit while they waited to get their essentials. So that was through the for Maricopa Food Bank, and just another example of how this community has come together. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Vidila.
So first, I'd like to thank our first responders. You guys have done an amazing job, and I've actually seen them out personally. The other day, they unfortunately we had an accident over at Helen's Kitchen, and they were there in close to 2.5 minutes. It was amazing. They did a great job, and of course, our dedicated police officers who are there for us patrolling, and I see them everywhere. I saw them in the parks the other day. That was great. And the people of Maricopa, I said this 2 weeks ago. I know all of us council members said it. Thank you. You've done a great job, and continue to do what you do in supporting the restaurants and the businesses here. And let's look forward to having a great opening when that time comes. But until then, thank you, Maricopa. Thank you, first responders. Thank you, council, for everything, and city manager and everybody in the city who's done such a great job to keep this city running. Thank you for what you guys do. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. Turn it to council members. I'll just go down the list here. Start with Councilmember Brown. Anything you'd like to address at this time?
I have nothing to address.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Manfredi.
Nothing to address right now.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gussie. Good at this time. Thank you. And Councilmember Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to recognize the young people, the youth in our community, particularly those who are advancing 5th grade, 8th graders, and our high school seniors. We want you all to know, and I think people are doing a gallant effort on Facebook by recognizing you, adopting you, referring to you, making plans to do something nice for you so that you will benefit or would receive what you have deserved. 12 years of education, putting up with moms and dads and little brothers and sisters and all those other things. And I want to take a particular note to the kids who went from kindergarten to the 12th grade. This is the first year that group is graduating here in Maricopa. And that is an accomplishment to know that there are students here that have gone all the way through the Maricopa Unified School District from the kindergarten up to their graduating year. So I want to thank you for your patience. I would ask that when you hear about things that are taking place that you want you to participate in, please go, please attend, because there is also that ability or that feeling of apathy and not wanting to follow through. But it was just taken into consideration that it was not the city's fault, it was not the state's fault, it was not our country's fault that this thing happened. But we still want to have an opportunity to recognize you and all the things that you've done throughout the time that you have. So congratulations to you as you graduate and move on. Congratulations to those that have reached higher level education as well. And just know that the city of Maricopa appreciates you, loves you, and is thinking about you all the time.
Thank you, Councilmember Wade. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Wade reminded me of something that I just found out yesterday, an interesting reference point. The seniors that are graduating from high school this year, imagine what their entire school year life has been like. They started their school life with 9/11 and they ended it with COVID-19. I had never put that together until Tori Anderson shared that with me yesterday. So they've had some interesting times throughout their school year. And so, yeah, when you see them, congratulate them, or if you know of any, make sure you send them a letter of congratulations. It's been an interesting ride for them.
Yes, it has.
Yep.
Thank you all for your updates. Just briefly, I'll give you kind of another one in the fact that just updates in the way of what's transpiring here in the city of Maricopa. As I've said before, we are following very closely. I'm on calls with the governor's office on a regular basis and in communication with him. I've been asked from all sides and all perspectives, how and why we make these decisions we do. I've tried to explain that many times in Facebook Lives and video press conferences and on the certainly on the web and other things. But again, just taking this opportunity here that we continue to follow the state of emergency as issued by Governor Ducey. We continue to follow the executive orders as issued by Governor Ducey. We continue to do these things in the best manner possible. We try to enforce things with a light hand, with an educational component, and with an act of compliance that basically trying to find the way through the situation in which we find ourselves. At the same time, the governor has, as you know, has taken the authorities from cities and towns to make a lot of independent decisions, but some of those decisions have and are available to be made on our side. And you saw some of those this past week. So again, just addressing those, we had the opportunity this past week to listen to the constituency. We had the opportunity to also look at the fact of where we are compared to 30, 45 days ago when nobody knew what social distancing was, and nobody did that, and now it's kind of the regular norm. Everybody social distances, and they just expect that when they go outside. We don't shake hands much anymore, etc. And so the city of Maricopa basically was able to go back and reevaluate where we were in some of the things that we were doing here from a safety perspective, such as amenities at parks. Those are things that the governor has left in our control, and so we were able to go through and set up staff that could clean some of these things that we felt we could not keep clean, maybe in perhaps such as a bathroom on a regular cleaning schedule, perhaps multiple times a day. We've kept bathrooms closed, but ramadas are open and picnic benches are open, things that you would typically find at a public park. So we are still awaiting a variety of different protocols and clearances through executive order on other things like gyms and pools. I know there are many private gyms in this city that are itching and ready to open back up so that they can go on with their business and move forward there. But again, we all wait at the governor's call to be able to open back up when the time is appropriate, as per the CDC, as per the Arizona Department of Health Services, and Governor Ducey. At this time, we have followed suit with the governor's executive orders that nail salons and places of like that can open up on, I believe it's the 8th, and then as of the 11th, May 11th, you can open up a full-service dine-in restaurant. But again, both of those have restrictions to social distancing, the wearing of masks or other type of coverings, both for employees and also the patrons of those establishments. So again, I encourage you, if you operate one of those particular facilities, to make sure that you are looking at the governor's website and getting and pulling down those appropriate measures so that you can stay in compliance and help protect the public safety. So I anticipate we will get more and more information as the weeks go on, even the days go on. I know that I've been contacted many times by folks that are, again, ready to open or ready to be included in a given grouping. Again, we don't make those decisions here as the city. That is being made at the state level by the governor. And so again, I continue to petition the governor on your behalf, both as a local mayor in the city of Maricopa, as well as the president of the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, on behalf of all 91 cities and towns. So we've been in close contact, our staffs have been in close contact with them. We continue to pass these messages on and give our pressings for that. But again, the governor, in his own words, is going to take that information coupled with all of the other information out there, all of the other data, and make decisions according to what he sees fit as though that data combines and pertains. So again, just wanted to give you that update, let you know where we're at and how things are moving forward, and that's where we're at. So we anticipate the stay-at-home order will be lifted on the 15th of May. That will be set to expire. So we have a council meeting here in this chamber on the 19th. We'll have to see what additional clarifications come down with that in that expiration. You know, do we move from 10 people to having the allowance of 50 people in a given room, et cetera? Will that allow us to come back as a full council? You know, what type of social distancing do we still need to maintain? You know, these are all the types of questions that we still have as a body here, and we'll work through that as we get closer. So we'll keep you posted on that. Okay? That concludes the report from the mayor at this time. I'll turn the time over to City Manager Horst for the report from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, we will be moving towards our bond refunding in a short duration. And in about 2 weeks, we'll start doing our ratings presentations to Moody's and Fitch and Standard & Poor's. So we put together this for that purpose, but it occurred to me this might be something you might enjoy seeing, as well as mostly letting our constituency know that there's a lot going on in this community. COVID or not, we're moving forward. So I thought I'd share, and by no means is this everything, but it still looks like a lot. So first, with residential development, people may not realize it, but we have 22,000 built single-family homes with more than 38,000 single-family homes yet to be built on, for a total of 60,000. And that doesn't include the new projects that are coming in that are being worked. We are building on average 1,000 single-family. We think we'll still do that this year. And of course, for the first time ever, we have some multifamily units as well. Homestead, as an example, there's a project going on right now for 324 more units. At the lakes, 950 more units. They're just getting started. The construction work's underdone. They finished the ring road out there. It's moving forward. Province, currently working on 598 more lots. You can drive by up and down Porter, and you see those homes going up rather quickly. Rancho Mirage, the same thing, a little over 500 units fully under construction, and will continue to move forward. Santa Rosa Crossing, which has been sitting dormant for over a decade, is now springing back in. They're paving roads, putting in the infrastructure. 720 units that will be coming out at that project. Santa Rosa Springs, they're moving forward with their next phase, 158 units. Tortosa, a lot of room to grow out there, but it's picking up speed and a lot of activity happening out there as well. And of course, recently the newly approved Bungalows out on Bowlin Drive. And then we have Oasis at the Wells, our first apartment project in the city, which if you drive by, it's easy to see. You see the large pipe. That pipe is actually for stormwater storage underneath the project because they don't have room for a typical stormwater pond. So some of our public projects, Maricopa Casa Grande Highway will be completed probably by next week. That team will move on the 18th to start working on Shea Way. So they'll have to be through by the 18th. Of course, you can see the library here outside the back window is moving along very nicely. The fire admin building is nearing completion. We're about a week or two away from that, and it's an exciting project. And I didn't include it on there, but we have started construction at the corner of Honeycutt and White and Parker. So that signal is underway and will be completed by the end of June. We have a new office project going in over by the current library site, a very attractive building that will have a audiology office in it, among other things that we're not aware of at the moment. Estrella Park, they're packaging up their final plans, and I reported out recently that there's about 30,000 square feet that's already got tenant LOIs on in the project. If you drive by, you can see the foundations are in for the new Pinal County complex. The walls are going to start going up soon, the 40,000 square foot project. Madison Point, if you've been out there, you've seen the AMCO going up. There's 4 sites out there. The storage units in the back are going up. The walls are going vertical. It's a very exciting project to see all that going forward. Likewise, the AMCO building, very attractive building, and speaks well to the style that we have in our community. There's the self-storage units. Maricopa Town Plaza, not too far. We also got 3 pads going out there, including Iconic Tires. Include the new Maricopa Animal Hospital. Will include Riaberto's. Of course, Snoring Creek Marketplace, they did ask for a 90-day extension, which was granted, but they are moving forward. The extension was less about COVID and more about changes with the major retailer who's come on site with a new CEO. Copper Sky Commercial, you saw that we worked on the senior project last meeting, and it's moving forward very quickly, and that course that's the elevation for it, 146 units altogether. This will create over 200 new jobs by itself. Then Copper Sky South, La Quinta, actively moving forward. MC Estates was approved. That's the RV man cave project that was recently approved. Bahama Bucks, they're getting ready to start their construction. Walgreens, just about ready to open. That's going to be nice for all of us live on this side of town. Retail shops out at the Wells. Kids Dentist is open with some additional space to be occupied. Fast and Friendly Car Wash we've been waiting on forever. We're about ready to move forward. Omni Self-Storage moving forward. A+ Charter School moving forward. Matter of fact, that's going up extremely quick. It now has the 2nd floor just since we've taken the picture. So I just wanted to share that to give you and everyone else an idea that the city is growing and prospering and moving forward, and we're very excited about it. And I think it speaks well to the city and to your leadership and to the belief that the people who are investing in this community have in this community. And we're winning people over daily, and our citizens deserve a lot of the credit. That's all.
Thank you, City Manager Horst. That was a great recap and again, some real positive notifications considering the negatives we've been living with for the last 45 days or so, but there are lots of great things going on in this city and even more to come. So again, very, very, very thankful for that presentation. Without any further ado, that'll take us to item 6, which is the approval of the meeting minutes. Council, if you have no questions or concerns on the meeting minutes, can I have a motion to approve, please? Please state your name.
Nancy Smith, so moved.
So a motion by Vice Mayor Smith. Is there another second?
Rich Vidiello, second.
The second by Councilmember Vidiello. Any further concerns or questions at this time? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. That'll take us to the consent agenda. There are no items on the consent agenda this evening. So that'll take us to items 8.1 through 8.3. 8.1 is the mayor and city council shall discuss and possibly take action on adopting a tentative budget for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 and the 5-year capital improvement plan, or the CIP. This is for discussion and action. City Manager Horst.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I know all of you have spent a lot of time reviewing the budget and the packet. In light of our circumstances and so forth, I'm just going to hit a few highlights and answer any questions you might have, and should any of our citizens call in, write in, or waiting outside to come in to speak, be happy to address those. As everyone is aware, the budget is the primary policy document for the entire city. It sets citywide service levels, implements capital projects, and establishes the financial and human resources necessary to accomplish the community's goals. And this budget builds upon the goals and priorities identified by the City Council over the past 2 years by focusing on infrastructure investments, fine-tuning of the city's organization to make the best possible use of existing staff and resources, and with prudent spending aimed at meeting community needs at the highest possible level of service. As I expressed earlier, we have just about completed this process because it starts in January, and then something called COVID-19 happened, which kind of threw a wrench into things. So we very quickly wanted to establish contingencies in case some of our revenues would not be realized. And I'll go through those in a little more detail in a few moments. But I did want to highlight just a few selective achievements that you and the city have been able to accomplish over this past year. Part of that was the reauthorization of our risk management insurance and services, which is saving us over $500,000 this year and hopefully perpetually. Reauthorized the health management insurance at a savings of about $300,000 per year. The bond refunding, which I referenced earlier tonight, will save $1.5 million to our taxpayers, thus enabling us to reduce the secondary tax rate, and we'll talk about that more in just a few moments. We did take over the waste transfer station, saving about $120,000 a year, and there's been a multitude of smaller cost savings. And these cost savings are part and parcel to the ability to manage a budget that's conservative and to make sure that we're not over-reliant on funds that may or may not be realized. This past year, of course, I've highlighted a few of these already, but the county court complex, the fire admin, the library, the signal, the Honeycutt and White and Parker, all underway. Bowlin Drive Bridge and Bowlin Road connector will start probably in the next 30 to 45 days. It will take longer. That's a bigger project to get it done. Certainly Shea Way is an important addition that enables our further growth out in the Walmart area. Economic development activity included Apex and its continued growth, the Copper Sky commercial with $1.27 million of senior housing, multiple family housing and retail, the Estrella Gin Business Park agreement that you authorized, which will create up to 300,000 of square feet of warehouse flex space, office and retail, the commercial development at 4 or 5 sites equaling over 250,000 square feet, which we identified some of that tonight. META 2.0, which will be getting underway really this month with the addition of the new staff that will come on board. And I think more importantly than all of that, the North Santa Cruz Wash Preliminary Design Concept Plan and FEMA CLOMAR application, which is designed to take 11.2 square miles out of the floodplain and will allow us a future development valuation in excess of $1.4 billion. I think probably the most exciting thing for me personally, and I think for our citizens, is your directive to reduce taxes. And we are pleased that this budget does reduce both our primary tax rate and our secondary tax rate. I think we will probably be the only city in Arizona to do that. I suspect we might be the only city in America to do that. And the only reason it can happen is because of the prudent, conservative, but yet progressive approach you take to growing this community. And you are to be commended for your leadership in that we're able to do this in the middle of a COVID-19, because your address was the people need it, the businesses need it, allow them to invest it, to regrow their business, to be able to increase their ability to buy the things that they need. And I'm just excited to be a small part of your vision in making that happen. Of course, the COVID is a problem, and we need to be prepared. So we've outlined a number of contingencies, which I won't get into a lot of detail because I know you're aware of those. Those will be triggered if and when needed based on revenue stabilization. In essence, our total revenue for the entire year for sales tax is $15.5 million, and the various contingencies that we have in place add up to $15.2 million. Now, that's about as good as it gets. Now, I suspect we will only need to trigger $1 million or $2 million at the end of the day, and we've added a COVID contingency, which in and of itself was 2.2 million when we first broached, is now 2.6 million. So we have that for starters, but by the time we trigger the different levels, if we need to, you're going to be in good shape. And I might add, that's before you ever touch any reserves. So I think the reason the city is able to do this is because of the good management practices that have been adopted, because of your leadership, and because of the hard work that all of the staff has put in to make this happen. Let's see. Before I forget, I think it's important to thank the mayor and city council for your guidance and for your integrity in directing the financial affairs of the city in a most responsible and progressive manner. I also want to extend our appreciation to the budget and finance division staff who worked endless hours on the budget, along with our department heads and departmental staff for their hard work, assistance, and cooperation in preparing this budget. It's interesting to me, because I've worked in so many places and I've seen so many cities, that department heads usually come in and all they care about is fighting for their position and for what their needs are. But our department heads are not like that. They're unified as an executive team, and they're willing to give up something if it means that another department needs that resource in order to achieve the overarching objectives of the city. The lack of I'm going to get the word wrong, they're not selfish in that approach. Obviously, they're attuned to their department needs, they want those resources, but they're willing to give up a resources to meet an overarching need, and I think that's refreshing and speaks well of our management team here at the city. Let me just check my notes. I wanted to mention, as you recall, in the current year, we budgeted $1.3 million to pay off unfunded liabilities. We also have $1.3 million in the new budget, which can pay off unfunded liabilities or can be held in case we need those revenues to balance the budget. With that, I think I'll leave it unless you have particular questions. Yes, so I'll leave it to you to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, City Manager Horst. Myself and Councilor Manfredi and Vice Mayor Smith had the privilege as a council subcommittee to sit on the Budget, Finance, and Operations Committee where we reviewed this in depth, as well as the capital improvement plan. And, it is a fabulous job by which city staff has brought together here. Everything we've asked for. It's a very unique time, but at the same time, we asked lots of questions and had lots of concerns. It seems like every little trap door that is a possible escape route if something should go awry has been thought of. Again, I don't mean to say that there's never something we haven't thought of, but certainly to the understanding that we really have tried to be comprehensive in the what ifs and what might happen and all these things. So again, many thanks. But I certainly wanted to open up to the council members to ask any questions that they might have regarding this. So again, Councilmember Smith sitting next to me, Vice Mayor Smith sitting next to me, Councilman Manfredi is on the Zoom. But I certainly want to go to those council members that didn't have a chance to participate in that particular meeting to be the first to ask questions. So I turn it over to you, Councilwoman Gussie, Councilmember Wade, Councilmember Brown, and Councilmember Vitiello.
Ladies first.
Yes, Councilwoman Gussie.
First and foremost, I wanted to thank those committee members that sit on the committee. I know it's very tedious and it's very time-consuming. And thank you, Mayor, for taking that on all these years. It's one of my least favorite items to sit on, and thank you. I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of your personal time to go in there and sit in these committees and make sure that this gets done. And also all the staff members that dedicate so much time in making sure that the budget is put together so concisely. One of the questions that I had was regarding an email that we received from the city manager regarding membership dues. The only question that I had was whether or not first of all, let me explain to the public what the email was about, was regarding membership. And one of the memberships that we had paid for last year was the Arizona-Mexico Commission, and that was the membership dues of $1,500. My question to the city manager earlier today was, and he had mentioned that the Arizona-Mexico Commission, it didn't reap any meetings or any benefit to the city. I know I was a member, and so was the vice mayor, and we didn't hear anything on. I'm not certain if I don't think you heard anything either, Vice Mayor, regarding any meetings until after the fact, and I didn't hear about any gatherings or anything, any input that we could possibly both receive from it or give back to the commission, any invitations or anything. So I didn't see the benefit. I'm not certain of what the other council members feel. But at the same time, I had asked the question to the city manager, and if you could elaborate, City Manager Horst, regarding the Canada-Arizona Business Coalition or Commission. I'm not certain. It's CABC. If you could tell us how much that is membership for the year and what benefits did we reap from being members of that organization?
Thank you, Councilwoman Gussie. The membership for the year is $10,000. I do know that they had a number of functions that the mayor and on occasion vice mayor, and I think at a couple of events, Councilmember Brown and Councilmember Vitiello attended as well. As far as actual leads that led to job creation or companies moving in, there were none for this year, but I do know there was interaction and engagement, but there were no actual leads to act upon to drive new business into town.
Thank you for the update. So it's reasonable to say that if we want to discontinue membership from, say, the Arizona-Mexico Commission, which we reap no benefits, no real benefits, unfortunately, we didn't even get to attend any actual meetings or any events because we were told after the fact, or at least I was told after the fact, or during that same week that it was happening, and there's no way I would be able to attend. But it seems reasonable to say that if we're absorbing $1,500, which is a minute amount compared to $10,000, we should, my proposal would be to eliminate both organizations, or I'd like to hear from the rest of the council what the discussion are. And I do understand, Mayor, you have mentioned this in the past, that it does take years to build those relationships with organizations. But at the time we had that conversation, you also mentioned that maybe NETA could take on we had different conversations regarding the absorbent amount of $10,000 a year for a membership that hasn't reaped any benefits to date. And I want to say, how many years, City Manager Horst, have we been members of the CABC?
I'm afraid I'm not able to answer that. The 2 years I've been here, I'm not sure when it started. The mayor indicates 3 years.
We're getting an Amber Alert or something. Hold on.
Yeah, it's an Amber Alert. An Amber Alert for the vehicle.
Yeah, sorry. So I want to say it's been 3 years. So I want to say we paid $30,000 to CABC, and we paid $1,500 for the Arizona-Mexico Commission. And to date, neither one of them have produced any leads as far as employment or companies wanting to come to Maricopa and so forth. So I do understand also that it does take a couple of years for us to establish those relationships. But at the same time, I don't know. I want to hear from the other council members.
Council, turn it over to you.
Nancy, would you like to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay, we have a Councilmember Vitiello wishes to speak.
Well, I would support Councilmember Gussie's. She wants to make it a motion for my purpose and continuance. While Vice Mayor, I did attend 3 of the Arizona Canadian group, but that was primarily for informational purposes. And each time, it was the fact of touting the relationship of the businesses in Maricopa County, the large businesses, going back and forth to Canada. But actually, I didn't see then, and I certainly don't see now how it benefits the city of Maricopa. I mean, it's good to be able to say you know the movements and shakers of these organizations. But when it comes to expending monies, it's always best that some of that accrues directly to Maricopa. And if not, then I see no purpose in spending to fund that organization, either organization.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Vidal.
So in the 2 years that I've been on council, I've attended about 4 or 5 meetings, and I have to say that I am for staying with them, because I know it does take a long time, especially, you know, being from, with who? CABC, sorry. And attending those meetings, I see the amount of people that are coming to those meetings, and the businesses that, and the people that keep coming from Canada. I think it's going to take maybe a couple more years, and I think we need to invest a few more years into it before making that decision. So I would say that I would like to stay with it because I see a big benefit. And if it takes another 2 years, I think I'm okay with that. So I know I'm okay with it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other council members, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So I only attended one event, and I will say that at the event, the networking was pretty magnificent in regards to the variety of people that I was meeting with and the information that I was collecting, whether it be cities, whether it be various developers, whether it be Canadians that came in for that specific event only. But that's only one event that I attended, and I think I'd like to find out from, and unfortunately Jennifer Bastian's not here to ask the question because she also attends often, and I'd like to know from an economic development perspective if that is something that she saw that she received benefit from, and or would META, as was indicated previously, receive benefit from them, since they are our fill the funnel group at this point. So I'd like to have a little bit more information there, but I'd also like to hear from the mayor regarding that. Regarding the Mexico-Arizona establishment, I am fine with letting that go. I even tried to reach out to them to figure out how I could participate and never received any information. And Councilwoman Gussie, if you got something after the fact, that's more than what I received, because I never received anything. So I'm fine with letting that one go in particular. But I would like a little bit more information, maybe from Jennifer Bastian or City Manager, if you have some insight as to what she shared with you regarding that.
I'm afraid I don't. I'd be happy
Okay.
to have her write something up, and then we can get it to all of you.
Okay.
Councilmember Manfredi and Wade.
So I attended, I think it was at least 3 gatherings with the Canadian group. And I have to say the same as Vice Mayor, the networking opportunities were pretty intense and supported, at least in that setting. I've always been curious ever since we started talking about them and they started coming, we started doing things with them, what was going to be the outcome. I was hopeful that we would have something positive now, other than the fact that I'm probably pretty certain that the increase in a period of time where Canadian homeowners were coming into Maricopa and buying properties, buying investment properties, I don't know how much of a connection was made between the organization and some of those folks who were coming in. But if that was the case, then I think we did pretty good during that period of time. I think that is since not disintegrated, changed. I don't want to use disintegrated, but has changed over a period of time. As far as the Mexican and U.S. alliance is concerned, I'm all for keeping that on board, to be quite honest with you. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort. It does take a little bit of effort, a little bit of time on our part as well to reach out. There may be some of that we would need to do it, but I have personally and professionally seen the benefit of relationships with Mexican organizations, coalitions, with my professional side. And it does sometimes take a little while to get people moving in the same direction. But once they've moved in that direction, I've seen some tangible benefit to that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I wouldn't have a problem. I mean, $1,500 versus $10,000 to me is not a lot of money. But I think that the time that we need to spend to seal the deal, if you will, probably needs a little bit more percolate.
Thank you. Councilman Manfredi.
Everything everybody else said is great. I agree with Julia. I agree with Marvin. Cancel them both and cancel GPEC too. But I'm going to lose that argument. But I would cancel all three, not just the Canadian and the Mexican one, but also I don't see much value out of GPEC coming from Maricopa County. But I know I'm going to lose that argument. So, but I would cancel all three of them.
Thank you. So my perspective is different. My perspective of economic development always is about the long-term play, and it's also about the investment that goes into it. While every cent, every penny, every dime is important, and everybody wants an immediate return, that's simply not the way economic development works. You've heard me say this a million times, and I'll say it a million more. I go to more economic development meetings than anyone on this council, and I do it because I love economic development. I love learning from these things, and I love what I gather. And one of the things that I've gathered is that Maricopa is seen as one of the premier economic development locations in the entire state of Arizona. Now, how do we know that? We know that because of the things that has come to City Manager Horst from other ways in which they've arrived, but they all talk. It's a very small community. And this small community on a regular basis talk to one another. They see the cities that show up. They are aware of who's participating in what, and they want to know so that they are a participating factor in deciding, is that particular location business friendly? Are they apt and desirable to want to encourage business? And if so, does that business want to come to us? Now, that being said, can I sit here and tell you that CABC has produced, XYZ, or the Arizona Mexico Commission has produced XYZ? No, I can't. Okay, and I can say that about most things. But what I can say is I can show you the fruits that are producing, and they're the offshoots, and they're the branches that are still growing. And so, I'm indifferent to the Arizona Mexico Commission. For some reason, I was not the liaison, not some reason. I know we had different liaisons to this particular because I am full in my schedule, so to speak. But at the same time, I get probably more emails on the Arizona Mexico Commission than either of you two. I tried to send those forward as I got them, but I got them before we were members. I don't know how that works. I think it's because of our association through the Economic Development Committee through MAG, and because of my association there from some time ago. Vice Mayor Smith is our associate through the EDC and MAG at the moment. So, it is interesting that that's how I get that information. I always have. I still continue to. But I also believe in that location as well. But you get out of it what you put into it. I think there are only so many meetings that I have conflicts with that I don't go to the CABC, but I want to give you a direct correlation of something that I feel is directly come from the CABC. And you guys haven't heard much of this yet. The Vice Mayor has and Rick has, but recently I got a call from Sandra Watson, who is the president of the Arizona Commerce Authority. And Sandra called me and said, hey, I need to ask you a question. I have a CEO of a very large company who wants to do something for you. Now, I said, okay, well, it's fine. Give out my cell phone. If someone's calling me to give me something, sure, why not? And not me personally, the city. And, I said, well, let's talk. I'm always interested in talking to CEOs. Well, it turns out that it's the CEO of Nikola Motors. Now, we know that Nikola Motors didn't locate to the city of Maricopa. But what we do know is that Nikola Motors is very, very, very aware of the educational component here in the city. Very aware of the business-friendly attitude that we have, and very aware that a lot of their employees, both near-term and long-term, will most likely come from this city because of our education. And they're very aware of us. Now, that relationship was built in part Not only because I now sit on the Arizona Commerce Authority board, but because I sat through the EDC at MAG. I went to all the MAG meetings. I went to all the MAG transportation meetings. And then that relationship was further fueled by my attendance at the CABC, where Sandra Watson is on a regular basis. And she has come to us on many times, and to me many times, and expressed her relationship and desire to want to help us. Just like we talk about GPEC, just like we talk about META. META, our director there, Ioana, is very good friends with Sandra Watson. So what you're starting to see is that this circle is a lot smaller once we start to dissect it, once we start to boil it down. And so, my philosophy has always been, while I respect every dollar that we are spending and every dollar that we're saving, and that's our job. We are in a position where we are cutting taxes. We're in a position where we have millions of dollars in savings for the what ifs. I don't see that, again, whether it's $10,000 or whether it's $11,000, $500, this is a drop in the bucket for, at the end of the day, if we can see these types of returns come to us at any point, whether it's now, whether it's next year, whether it's 10 years from now. I think that when we talk about our Canadian strategy, I'll be the first to admit it has not been anywhere near as robust as I would like it to have been since we've started here. But it has given us a goal by which we are reaching for. The whole purpose is to shoot that up, and we've met with CABC on a variety of different times, by which we are trying to get a much better stratagem here in the city focused on our Canadians, to what Councilmember Wade said. But then we went through a reboot, right? We dissolved our economic development department and reabsorbed it through META. Okay, so that has taken us, 14 months? So here we are in the middle of a 3-year, membership of CABC, and one of our key stratagems has been completely disrupted based on the fact that we're revamping the very core by which we do business here. So what I see that the outcome is there. The connections are there. We've had several council members testify to the robustness of the networking. You are talking to people that you will not get to see in many other circumstances, and you don't have a front door into them. Okay, this is the gatekeeper gone. This is direct and absolute interaction by which, when Glenn Williamson or whoever from the Arizona Sonora Mexico Commission introduces you directly to these individuals, you are getting firsthand ability to make an impression and thereby do business. So while we don't have an outcome right now, I can show you that there are some outcomes burgeoning. I'll further explore that this Nikola Motors, while I don't know the outcome yet, we have been asked somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000 that might be given to the city in a variety of measurements and donations to different charitable organizations, all because of those connections. Well, if you take $70,000 and divide it over the 3 years of membership in the CABC alone, well, then we're more than covered. So I think that we have to look at this from a much bigger, much broader perspective and know that, again, this is a very small community. These people know each other, they talk amongst each other, and we are truly being set apart because of our desire and participation in these particular organizations. It is setting us apart. It is setting a standard by which other cities are trying to follow because they are seeing what we're doing here. And we are seeing it pay off. I go back to the argument I made when I was elected in 2012, that people never believed we'd have an overpass. People never believed we'd get out of that recession. People never believed. It's our job as elected officials to set the bar and to show the vision and to work towards that. And I think that these organizations give us that. I'm indifferent to the fact that if we want to, say that we didn't get anything from the Arizona Sonora Commission, that's fine. If we want to say, hey, we're going to redouble our efforts this year and we're going to go full blitz, and if I'm getting emails and the two of you are not, then I'll certainly, we can go together and make sure that we get those things changed and made different. But again, I do hesitate when it comes to saying we're going to burn this bridge and we're going to terminate this connection. I think we hurt ourselves in the long run. And so again, I understand every penny is important, and I certainly respect that. But I respect the relationships that are being built here through these organizations, through our attendance. And I think that, again, we can argue different sides of, Arizona Sonora Commission because we didn't get notification, but we certainly have had notification on the CABC. And I think that, from whether it's been my attendance or your attendance, I think most of the members on the city council have had an opportunity to go, experience it for themselves, at least a taste of it. There is something that's there. So that's my 2 cents, and I hope that answers your questions, Councilmember Gussie.
And I respect everything you've said. You did mention, I'm going to be honest, I haven't gone to one of the CABC meetings, so I really don't understand their networking. And it's not for your lack of trying. Trust me, Mayor, you've invited me several times. It's just that I haven't had the opportunity to attend because of my personal schedule. But I did want to mention there was a time when I was a member of the Arizona-Mexico Commission as an individual. Have we explored that? Maybe a possibility. I know that the rate to be an individual member is $100 versus the city membership, $1,500. Have we explored the individual membership for the CABC so that those council members that feel passionate enough to continue this relationship with CABC, that they might have the option to get an individual membership versus the whole entire council $10,000 membership?
Great question.
I don't think there exists.
Correct. Councilmember Brown is correct. That does not exist. The packages are upwards of $125,000. They go to $75,000, $25,000, and $10,000. We are at the lowest level possible at the CABC, and it is also the level that's offered to the municipalities, as those are also kept in check. It is not a broad-based expansion to all 91 cities and towns in the state. I think there are 7 or 10 that are allowed into the CABC, and that's it. So again, a bit of an exclusive club. We were one of the first ones to seek that out. There's a long line right now. If we bail out or someone else leaves, there's a long line for someone else to pop in and backfill that. And if we ever change our mind in 2 or 3 years, we'll be in the back of that long line. So something we have to consider. But hopefully answering your question, there are no such thing as individual memberships in that case.
And my last question on this point is, have we explored META taking over the membership, or will that, have some kind of conflict?
I don't know how to answer that question if there's a conflict or not. I think there are something that we can certainly discuss. I think that at the end of the day, money is fungible. So if we are using that as our economic development department, and X amount of dollars are going from here to the META in the form of a contract, whether we spend it through them or spend it through us, it's the same because it's still taxpayer dollars. But at the end of the day, I would say this, that I think initially I would balk a little bit initially at META being the one that is dealing with it, simply because until we get META up and running in this 2.0 fashion, until we have our director and our assistant director actually going to all of their things and firing on all pistons and those types of things, I certainly want to maintain that we are the municipality. Now at the same time, inside the CABC, at the same time, it could change. I mean, we can certainly have that discussion. I'm open to the discussion, but I certainly want to make sure that the municipality is the one representative, and that we're certainly able to keep that membership level, which is the lowest, and not have to pay a higher membership fee, because again, that hurts. That's taxpayer dollars and contract dollars that go out the door that could be used for something else. So certainly want to maintain those types of issues there. But I hope that answers your question.
Well, as you mentioned, economic development
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman Gussie, and then if Councilmember Wade was speaking, we'll go to you next.
Yes.
If economic development is in the forefront of this, task with the CABC, I think it's fair to say, as the Vice Mayor had mentioned, is to get more information. I mean, I'd like to hear her perspective, Jennifer Vassian's perspective, especially, and as you mentioned, it comes from the same pot of money. So whether we decide on this or not, but my last question is, I don't want to hold up this approving this tentative budget. Is there a way for us to carve this aside and wait to hear back from Jennifer?
May I, Mayor?
Yeah, by all means, City Manager.
The answer is yes. Tonight we're passing the tentative budget. The final budget will be approved in late June rather. So there is room. We can get you Jennifer's comments, and then there'll probably be a few minor amendments anyway to the budget between now and the one we finally adopt in June. So we have time to get you that information and make that final decision at the final budget.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gussie. Councilmember Wade.
I just wanted to recall, what was the membership amount for the Mexican Sonora Coalition?
It's 1,500 from a city perspective. There's also an individual membership. I believe Councilwoman Gussie had mentioned that. There's an individual membership possibility on that one, though.
Okay, 'cause, well, I'm not sure. I can't call it. I tried to find it here, but I couldn't recall which organization we were considering that had an increase in their annual dues that we were considering at one time.
Neither of
City
those,
manager,
neither of those two
does that make any sense
organizations
to you?
had increases.
had neither one that had agreed. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Then
neither
what-
one of those
Thank
two.
you.
You've seen some organizations out there, again, prior to COVID-19, but, you know, the typical organizations such as MAG, AZ League of Cities and Towns, CAG, et cetera, they typically have a small increase that happens every year from a membership perspective. I can tell you that this year, we haven't gotten to the executive committee. That'll be held at the end of May, but it is most likely that the executive committee on the league will approve, first time ever, a 15% reduction in dues. So there alone, there's a bit of an additional savings to this organization, but that will happen just simply based on the COVID-19 and also, you know,
Who was that, Mayor?
that's the Arizona League of Cities and Towns.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know what other organizations like MAG may or may not do, but they may freeze dues, they may hold them steady. Again, there's too many things that are still in the process of happening, but I can tell you, again, as the league president, that is happening in the form of the league. There'll be some reduction, whether it's 10% or 15%, but that's what's being proposed as 15.
Yeah, there was one, and I'll find it and bring it, not to hold up the conversation, but I'll find
Thank you.
the one
Councilman.
that
City Manager Horst, the one I wanted to ask about was the Pinell County Alliance for Economic Development. Have we made a decision on that one?
We have. It's pretty much unanimous when I spoke to each of you individually regarding that matter. We will not be continuing our membership.
Good choice.
absolutely was. Okay, thanks, Rick.
Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor.
So back to the topic that Councilwoman Gussie brought up regarding the Arizona-Mexico, it seems as though the majority of the council is comfortable going either way. I would be willing to, and possibly Councilwoman Gussie would as well, to be an individual member, to take the emails that you receive if I don't start receiving emails, and to see if there's any value that we can get out of them. I wouldn't mind being the council liaison to do that, and as I indicated, possibly Councilwoman Gussie would as well. And so it would be my recommendation that we forego that membership as a council at this point, but I would like to hear from Jennifer Bostian and receive some information and talk a little bit more about the Canadian membership in the future. But may I continue on in terms of my thoughts of the budget? I am, because I got to sit on the Budget Finance Committee, I walked away from that meeting after going through a plethora of information, just being totally impressed and very, very proud of our city manager, of our staff, and just as the city manager indicated, my takeaway was that we do have department managers who see the big picture, and that is quite awesome and quite magnificent. Many of you may know I wrote an editorial for the various media outlets regarding how are we going to be able to lower our property tax for primary and secondary with all of the COVID and the loss of income. And to me, it was impressive that during this meeting, the city manager was prepared with contingency plans regarding how were we going to be able to do that and still move on with full services. I also just today received a question from someone who lives in our city, but they have family members in another city who are having to furlough firemen and policemen. And they're like, how are we not having to do that? And so I'm just so impressed, but really proud of the fact that the city of Maricopa is in a position. And if you think about it, we have a legacy from council number 1 back in 2003 forward for being conservative and being able to manage through these types of emergency situations. And in the 6 years that I've served, we've continued, we've actually lowered the property tax rate twice, and I can see that happening again in the future. I'm just impressed with the decisions that council has done and supported in regarding living within our means. To me, I mean, how many government entities are living within their means? That's so impressive to me. So I just want to close with that. I didn't have any specific questions because of the fact that I served on the Budget Finance Committee, but I want to make sure that the people that are listening walk away and understand how impressive it is. And I completely agree with the city manager regarding the fact that we might be the only city, maybe in the state and maybe in the nation, who's able to do the things that we're doing right now. And it's really very, very impressive and something that the residents should be proud of. So I thank the city manager, the staff, and I thank our city council. You guys are wonderful in supporting conservative values regarding our budget and being responsible and living within our means. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have, at this point, any other questions on the budget itself? No? City Manager Horst, do you have direction then from the council to kind of carve this out a little bit, to bring back in some additional addendum discussion as well as additional information that can come to the council so that a further decision can be made on those other two items?
I do, thank you.
Okay. Again, this is for discussion and action. Is there any, if there's no further discussion or no further questions, can we move to a motion, please?
Mayor?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
A motion that we accept the tentative budget as presented with the carving out of the issue related to Canadian Business Group and the Mexican Sonora Group.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, Mr. Mayor, may I add, while we're carving, I'd like to revisit our involvement with GPAC. For many, many years, I have questioned that investment. Clearly, I wasn't aware that my good friend, Councilman Estetti, was concerned about it, but I have been concerned about it for many years, and clearly, the return on investment there is nil, doesn't exist. So if we're going to be carving, let's look at that also.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table, council member. So unless I'd turn it back to Councilmember Wade to either rescind or restate his motion, if council would like to see that brought back and discussed as well.
You got me in a spot here because I agree with both of them that we need to revisit that. So I would fully support retracting my motion until
Hold on.
we have some dialogue on it.
Hold on for a second. I don't think Councilmember
Hello?
Hold on. Dennis,
Councilmember Wade, I really think what Councilmember Brown was trying to do was make an amendment to your motion. So if you accept his amendment, whoever made the second can then accept the amended.
Right, we haven't received a second yet. That's why I was
Okay.
giving him a chance to either restate his motion or we just amend the motion. Which do you prefer, legal?
Restate the motion then.
So that's what I was saying is because we have not received a second yet, to restate the motion, Councilmember Wade.
Okay, then I would I would restate my motion that we move forward with the tentative budget with the process of carving out and receiving additional information for the Mexican Sonora Group, the Canadian Coalition, and GPAC.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second. Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on the budget and this carve out at this time? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That'll take us to item 8.2, which is a resolution of the mayor and city council, the city of Maricopa, authorizing and providing for the sale and issuance of a city of Maricopa general obligation refunding bonds, or Series 2020, delegating the authority to approve certain matters with respect to the refunding of bonds and the bonds being refunded, authorizing the selection of bonds and registrar and paying agent, approving the form of refunding bonds and bond registrar and paying agent agreement, and continuing disclosure, undertaking a purchase agreement and preliminary official statement and authorizing completion, execution, and delivery thereof, delegating the authority to approve and deem a final of form and of official statement, and ratifying all actions taken and to be taken with respect to the refunding of bonds in furtherance of this resolution. This is for discussion and action. So let's see, Jennifer and Rick.
Mayor and council, this is a preliminary process that has to be undertaken in order to move forward. It sets parameters to go to the market. Ultimately, once we go to the market, we'll bring back to you the fixed deal points, and that's the time when you would either thumbs up or thumbs down. We have been watching the market closely. As you know, it's been very fluid as of late. We had hoped to get as much as a 12% reduction. Frankly, if you get at least 3%, it's usually worth your while doing it. Right now, it might be closer to 9 or 10, but every day changes. But the market is improving every day as well, as people are beginning to move out of the closings and reopening the economy. So we're still very confident, but I just wanted to assure you this is necessary to move forward, but this is not the final say. You will have a final say when they come back with the exact terms.
Thank you. Any further discussion, council, on this item? Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Ricky a question.
Yes, please, proceed.
Ricky, are we at AAA rating?
Councilmember Brown, can you restate that? We couldn't hear it very well in the chambers.
I was asking Ricky whether we are a AAA rating.
What is our rating?
We are not a AAA. We're currently a AA minus with one of the rating companies and a AB plus. I get a little confused by them, but we will be meeting with the 3 rating agencies in 2 weeks. We're meeting with all 3 because we're confident we can get a AAA out of Finch, to be honest with you. The other 2 we don't know, but we do anticipate that our rating will go up, which of course gives us a lower interest rate because our risk is modified. Our numbers look very good. They're very impressed, frankly, with the construction and building we're doing, even in this process. They're very impressed with the physical policies that have been put in place to manage our numbers. They're impressed with our reserves that we have in place and the fact that we have virtually low debt. Other than the Copper Sky, there is no debt, and by comparison, that's very low compared to most cities. So I think you'll find that I don't think we'll have a AAA when it's all said and done. I think that day will come in the near future, though, in the coming years.
Well, thank you very much.
Any other questions, council? Okay, seeing no one, can I have, this is just a discussion and actions. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Move to approve?
So moved.
Vice Mayor moves, Councilmember Brown seconds. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. And last but not least is 8.3. This is the Mayor and City Council shall discuss and possibly take action on making an appointment to fill the vacancy on the Cultural Affairs and Arts Committee. I believe this is Councilmember Manfredi's appointment. Councilmember.
Yes, and thanks to everybody for sticking around for this one. But we'd like to nominate Maria Poor for the AAAC. If there's anybody, I don't think she's there, of course. I don't see, but I don't know if she's in the audience or outside. But that's who I'd like to nominate.
And again, just for clarity, because I couldn't hear you very well, that was Maria Poor, P-O-U-R, is that correct?
Yes, Maria P-O-U-R.
Got it, Maria Poor.
And she's been notified by Vanessa, and but I doubt she's down there.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor? I need to recuse myself from this vote. She is my grandson's teacher.
Okay. So Councilmember Wade will recuse himself from this. Is there a motion on this? Councilmember Manfredi, would you like to motion it?
So moved.
Yes, that motion.
Okay, there's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vidiello. Is there any further discussion on the nomination of Maria Poor? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
and we had one abstention or excused. And so with that, the motion passes. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Maria. We appreciate your willingness to serve. We're sorry you're not here in the chamber to have you stand up and clap for, but I'm sure we'll catch you next time. So again, that concludes our time with our city council meeting this evening. We have no more further executive session, so council, you're free to have the remainder of the night to yourselves, and staff can go home. So again, thank you for your participation. We will reconvene in 2 weeks. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn?
There are motions, is there a second? And a second by Councilmember Brown. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all for your participation from home and Zoom. We appreciate it.
You're fighting.
I don't have a person on Culture Fair.
We can